Hi everyone, welcome to the spiral cushion tutorial with me, Laura Eccleston from HappyBerry, and we're going to be using all the colours for this tutorial, so let's begin. Okay, so we're going to be using all the colours for this spiral cushion, but we're going to be starting with the yellow. You're also going to need your stuffing as well and your crochet hook, so let's start with the yellow. Okay, so we're going to start off with a chain 4 loop, and I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to put our hook into our first chain, bring the yarn through the first chain and through the loop on our hook. We've got a little 4 chain loop, and into there we're going to work 12 treble crochets. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to add a little chain 1 for leverage. Then we're going to yarn over, put our hook into the center of our 4 chain loop, bring the yarn through and pull through 2, yarn over, oops, pull through 2. Didn't do a great treble there, and we have a treble crochet, and we want 12 of those, so that's 1. Next one, just wrapping it around the chains, treble crochets, 2, and the last one 12, so we've got 12 treble crochets. Okay, for our first round. Then what we're going to do, we're going to start creating our first spiral, and we're going to chain 112. So there's a lot of chains, but we're going to chain 112. So 1, 2, 3, 11, and 12. 112. So we have a lot of chains. That's the only time you'll have to do that, apart from the second side of the cushion. But what we're going to do, starting in our second chain from our hook, we're going to do a slip stitch. So we don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first chain, there's our second. So in there, we're going to do a slip stitch in there. And then we're going to do a double crochet in the next chain. Double crochet in there. Then we're going to do a half treble in the next chain, half treble. Just pull through all 3. Then we're going to do 1 treble in the next 6 chains. So 1 treble in the next 6 chains. So treble in there, so that's 1. Next chain, 2, next chain, 3, next chain, 4, next chain, 5, and the next chain is 6. So 1 treble in the next 6. Then we're going to do 2 trebles in the next stitch. We're going to do an increase of 2 trebles in the next chain. So 1 and 2. Okay, 2 trebles in there. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 treble in the next 9 chains. In the next 9. So 1 treble in the next 9 chains. So the first one, 1. Next chain, 2. And 9. So 1 treble in the next 9 chains. Then we're going to do 2 trebles in the next stitch. So 2 trebles in the next stitch for an increase. 1 and 2. So 2 in the same chain. And then we're going to do 1 treble in the next 8 stitches and then 2 trebles in the next stitch. I'm going to do that twice. Okay, so 1 treble in the next 8, then 2 trebles. I'm going to do that twice. Okay, so 1, 2, and 8. And we end on the 2 trebles in the same chain for an increase. So 1 and 2. And we've done that twice. Okay, so we've done that twice. Okay, so moving on to the next bit, we're now going to do 1 treble in the next 7, then 2 trebles. I'm going to do that twice as well. So 1 treble in the next 7 chains, then an increase of 2 trebles. We'll do that twice. Okay, so next chain 1, next chain 2. Okay, again ending on the 2 trebles in the same chain. So we've done 1 treble in the next 7, then 2 trebles, and we've done that twice as well. Okay, should look like that. Now you can see a pattern starting to form. We're going to now do 1 treble in the next 6, and then 2 trebles, and we're going to do that twice. Okay, so 1 treble in the next 6. So 1. And then we're going to do 1 treble in the next 5, then 2 trebles, and we're going to do that twice. So 1 treble in the next 5, chains, then 2 trebles, and we're going to do that twice. So 1, 2. Now we're going to do 1 treble in the next 4, then 2 trebles, and we're going to do that twice. So 1 treble in the next 4, 1, and now we're going to do 1 treble in the next 3, and then 2 trebles, and we're going to do that twice. So 1, 2, and 3, and then our increase of 2 trebles, and then repeat that once more. Okay. And then we're going to do 1 treble in the next 2, then 2 trebles in the next chain, and then we're nearly back to our main circle. So 1 and 2. Then 2 trebles, and we're going to do that twice, so repeat that once more, and 2. So 1 treble in the next 2, then 2 trebles, 1 and 2. So that's our last increase. Then we're going to do, let's finish that last treble. Then we're going to do 1 treble in the next stitch, then an increase of 2 trebles, and we do that twice. So 1 treble in the next stitch, then 2 trebles, and then repeat that once more. 1 and 2. Repeat that once more, 1 treble in the next chain, then an increase of 2 trebles, one and 2, and then you should have 3 stitches left, 3 chains left. And I haven't done a very good job of that last one, so I was going to redo that. Let's just do a better treble in that last increase. So you should have 3 chains left, and we're just going to do 2 trebles in the last 3 chains. So 3 increases basically. So 2 trebles in the next chain, 1 and 2, 2 trebles in the next chain, 1 and 2, and 2 trebles in the very last chain. So hopefully you've counted your 112 chains correctly. This is where you find out. But if you don't want to do all that again, you can, say you've run out of stitches, you don't have an extra one, like one left, you can just shove the last 2 in the last chain, as long as you have the correct stitch count. Okay, so you should have a stitch count of 132 along here. And what we're going to do is we're going to miss the first stitch on the main circle. This first stitch here, we're going to skip that, we're going to miss it, and we're going to do a slip stitch in the next stitch on this main circle. So just slip stitch into there. Okay. And then we're going to turn our work. We're going to work along this tail again. So what we're actually going to do is we are going to skip that slip stitch we just made. Find that first treble, and we're going to do a double crochet in there. So 1 double crochet in there. And we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 110 stitches. So you should have 132 stitches, but we're only going to work up to 110. So we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 110 stitches. Okay, so that's our first one. So next stitch, a double crochet, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 110. So 1, 2, 3, and 110. And to save yourself just double checking that you've crocheted 110 is, sorry, it's gone a bit sunny there, is just, you can just count to the end and make sure that adds up to 132. So you should have 22 left, 22 stitches left. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to do a slip stitch in the next stitch. So slip stitch in there, and we're going to miss the last 21 stitches, and we're going to join our next colour, which is going to be our complementary colour 1, which is going to be the red pinky colour. So we're going to join our colour. Let's do it in a little chain 1. Just bring that through the loop on our hook. And we're going to turn our work. So we should have 111 stitches that we're working in. So what we're going to do first is work with the correct colour. So let's get our pinky colour and turn our work, and we're going to do a slip stitch in that slip stitch we just made. So going back into that slip stitch, we're going to work a slip stitch, okay, like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do very similar stitches to our first row of our yellows. So we're going to do a double crochet in the next stitch, so double crochet in there, and then we're going to do half treble crochet in the next stitch, so half treble, pull through all 3, half treble in there. Then we're going to do 1 treble in the next 6 stitches, in the next 6, half treble, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the next stitch 6. So 1 treble in the next 6 stitches. Then we're going to do 2 treble in the next stitch, 2 treble in the next stitch, 1 and 2. And then we're going to do pretty much what we did for row 2. So we're going to do 1 treble in the next 9 stitches, and then an increase of 2 treble. So we're going to do that. Just going to do that once. So 1 treble in the next 9. So 1 and 9. So 1 treble in the next 9 stitches, and then an increase of 2 trebles. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Okay, so we've just done that once. And then we're going to do 1 treble in the next 8 stitches. In the next 8 stitches, and then 2 treble, and we're going to do that twice this time. So we're going to do that twice. So 1 treble in the next 8, then an increase of 2, and we're going to do that twice. So 1, so 1 and 2 for our last increase. So I've done 1 treble in the next 8, and I've done that twice. And now we're going to do 1 treble in the next 7, then an increase of 2 trebles, and we'll do that twice. 1 treble in the next 7. So 1. Okay, then we're going to do 1 treble in the next 6 stitches, then 2 trebles. I'm going to do that twice. So 1 treble in the next 6 stitches. Okay, now we're going to do 1 treble in the next 5, then 2 trebles. I'm going to do that twice. So 1 treble in the next 5. 1. Then we're going to do 1 treble in the next 4 this time, and then 2 treble. I'm going to do that twice. So 1 treble in the next 4. 1. Now we're going to do 1 treble in the next 3, then 2 trebles. I'm going to do that twice. So 1 treble in the next 3, then an increase of 2. So 1. Then we're going to do 1 treble in the next 2, 1 and 2, then an increase. We're going to do that twice. Increase of 2 in the same stitch. 1 and 2, and do that twice. So 1 treble in the next stitch, treble in the next stitch, then increase of 2. 1 and 2. Then we're just going to do 1 treble in the next stitch, then an increase of 2. We'll do that twice. 1 and 2. And do that again. So treble in the next stitch, and an increase, 2 trebles. 1 and 2. And then we should have 3 stitches left, and just like the previous row, we're going to do 2 trebles in the last 3 stitches. I've just lost my colourful hook, so I'm using this hook. So 2 treble in the next stitch, 2 treble in the next stitch, 1 and 2. And then 2 treble in the very last stitch. 2 treble in there. 1 and 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to miss the next stitch on the main circle. So we're going to miss that next empty stitch, and we're going to do a slip stitch in the next stitch. So slip stitch in there. Okay, should look like this, and then we're going to turn our work, and then we're going to work on row 5, so which is the wrong side. And what we're going to do is we're going to miss that slip stitch, so skip that. And just like before with the yellow, we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 110 stitches. Okay, and then we're going to skip the last 21. Yeah, so just count 1 double crochet, skip that slip stitch, double crochet in the next stitch, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 110 stitches. So basically just crochet up to, just keep crocheting, don't worry too much about counting 110. We just want to make sure that we have 22 stitches left at the end, and then we're going to do a slip stitch at the end. So 1 double crochet in the next 110. Okay, so I've done 1 double crochet in the next 110 stitches, and I should have 22 stitches left. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to do a slip stitch in the next stitch, slip stitch in there, and we're going to miss the last 21 stitches. And then we're going to join our next colour, CC2, that's the purple colour. And what we're going to do is exactly the same as the previous 2 rows. So we're going to just join this mixed colour and join it with a little chain 1 and turn our work. And then we're going to repeat row 4, and we're going to basically repeat rows 4 and 5 for all the remaining colours. So for rows 6 to 11, we're going to repeat rows 4 and 5. So going straight into row 4 again, we do a slip stitch in that previous slip stitch, little slip stitch in there, pull your tail ends, and it's a double crochet in the next stitch, then a half treble, and then so on and so forth, the same as row 4. So 1 treble in the next 6. So repeat that for all the remaining colours, for rows 6 to 11, and then I shall come back and show you what to do next. Okay, so I have repeated those 2 rows for all the other colours, but the final colour, this sort of peachy colour, this is row 12. So I'm just coming to the end of row 12. I haven't done the double crochets all the way back. This is the end of row 12, and it's exactly the same as all the other rows, and we've got 3 stitches left. Now normally we would do 2 trebles in the last 3 stitches, but on this very last row, row 12, we're going to do 3 trebles in the last 3 stitches. Okay, so 3 trebles. So we're going to the next stitch and do a treble, 1 and another one, 2 and 3, and we're going to do 3 trebles in the next stitch, 1, 2 and 3, and we do 3 trebles in the very last stitch. Okay, this just adds a little bit more increasing, a little bit more space, and 3 in the last stitch. Okay, so 1, 2, oops, and 3. Okay, so what we're going to do now though, we're not going to skip a stitch, we're not going to miss a stitch on the main circle. We should just have 1 stitch left on the main circle, and we're just going to slip stitch into there. Slip stitch into there. And then we're going to turn our work, and this time we have more stitches. We've got 135 stitches now. And so what we're going to do, we're going to miss that slip stitch as always, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 113 at this time. So not 110, 113. So skip that slip stitch, go into that next stitch, and for this final row, I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the next 113 stitches. So basically just keep crocheting until you have 22 stitches left, just like before. Okay, so I've got 22 stitches left. I have crocheted 1 double crochet in the next 113 stitches, and we're just going to finish up just like with the other rows with a slip stitch in that last stitch. Then we're going to fasten off, so we're going to cut our yarn. Okay, cut our yarn, and you can just pull that loop through. And then what we want to do is we want to go back to, with the right side facing the beginning of the cream part. So you've got the right side facing like this, and we're going to count 6 stitches from the main circle along here. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and in that sixth stitch we're going to put our hook, and we're going to rejoin our main colour, which is our yellow. It's the first colour you worked with, and we're just going to bring that through that 6th stitch and secure it with a little chain 1, and we're going to start off with a slip stitch. So in the same stitch, that same 6th stitch, we're going to do a slip stitch, okay, to begin, and we're going to work towards the main circle. Then in the next stitch we're going to do a double crochet, then in the next stitch we're going to do 2 half trebles in the next stitch, 2, so an increase, 2 half trebles. Let's pull through all 3. That's 1, another 1, 2. You should have 3 stitches left, and in the next stitch we're going to do 2 treble crochets, 2 trebles. So pull through 2, pull through 2, that's 1, and another treble in the same stitch. Then in the next stitch we're going to do 3 trebles, 3 trebles. So 1, 2, and 3. Then in the very last stitch we're going to do 4 trebles, 4 trebles. So go into that very last stitch and work 4 treble crochets. I think I might start that one again. 4 trebles. So 1, 2, 3, and one more 4. So you want 4 trebles in there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to fasten off, and we're going to leave a very long tail for sewing. Okay, so cut your yarn, I'm going to pull that loop through. Now we are going to just add a little bit of extra so it sits a little bit flatter, although it's not going to sit perfectly flat. Let's get that out there straight away, so don't worry. But now what we want to do is, with the right side facing, we're going to just bring our tail end over here, and the idea is we're going to match up these stitches along here. We're going to match up these stitches along here and all along our creamy colour with the stitches, our foundation chains here on the yellow. So this very first, let's get our yarn needle, because the idea is we're going to spiral this up and we're going to sew all the way along here until we run out of stitches along here. So we're going to sew here. So we're going to get our tail end and a yarn needle, and you want to match up this very first stitch here with the very first chain along here. Okay, like so. And you're going to have a little bit of gap here, so you may want to sew that up as well. And then the idea is just to join up all these stitches, so this next one here would match up with the next chain here, like so. So I'm going to do that, sew all this up, and then I shall come back. I'm just going to sew up this little open gap first. Okay, so I've sewn up that little gap. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into this stitch number 2, which I think is along here. Yeah, go into this stitch, and then I'm just going to go into the next chain on here. I'm going to keep doing that till I run out of stitches. So then the next stitch here, and don't pull too tightly. Get that tail end out of the way, and then into the next chain along here, and just keep repeating that without getting in a tangled mess. Okay, so I have finished sewing that up all along here, and as you can see, it is kind of curling up like this. So I highly recommend blocking your work. This might be better or worse depending on your tension. As you can see here for the other side, I have blocked this and it sits beautifully flat, so I highly recommend blocking. But what you need to do now is repeat all those steps for your second side of your cushion, and like I said, block. And then so I'm going to do that for this one. I'm going to block this one, and then I'm going to come back, and all we need to do is just finish up with sewing the edges together and stuffing our cushion. So I will do that, then I shall come back. Okay, so I've finished blocking that. I sped it up with a hairdryer, and as you can see, it now sits beautifully flat. And we've got 2 pieces, so it's exactly the same pattern. So we've got 2 sides, and what we're going to do now is we're going to put our wrong sides together. So let's put the back pieces together. What I've also done is moved all the tail ends further on the inside, so they'll just sit inside our cushion. And then I'm going to try and match up the edges best we can. Doesn't really matter. We're going to tuck all our tail ends on the inside, and then we're going to pick a colour. So I think I chose yellow before, maybe I choose a pink this time, and I thought we were going to sew it together, which you can do, but what I'm actually going to do is a double crochet together. So what we're going to do, just matching up the stitches as best you can, we're going to put our hook into any one of these stitches. Let's start with an easy one. I'm just going to pick one on the other side, doesn't really matter where. And we're going to take our yarn, bring that through both stitches. It's going to secure that with chain 1, and going back into the same stitches, we're going to work a double crochet. Okay, and we're going to do that all the way round, working 1 double crochet, joining both sides together. And we'll do that all the way around, but we're going to leave a small opening and then add some stuffing at the end before we finish. Okay, so I have double crocheted all around the edge, left a little opening, added some stuffing, added a little extra stuffing of my own as well because I like it nice and cushiony. And all that's left to do is to finish double crocheting it closed. So that's what I'm going to do. Just continue joining both sides until the gap is closed. Okay, so I have done that, and all that's left to do now is to add some tassels if you want to. And what I did is I took 6 strands of each colour. So for example, the green, I've got 6 strands of the green. That's probably about 25 centimetres. And where the corresponding colour ends on here, on either side, you pick either side, I would then thread through the strands. So I'm going to thread through the strands, thread them all in one go, and we're going to thread through roughly around here, pull those through, and then remove your yarn needle and leave leave equal amounts either side like that, and then we're just going to secure it with a knot. So we grab another short strand and just going to, really, these are really simple tassels. You can add the ribbon as well if you wanted to. So I'm just going to move that up, leave about 1 centimetre, that nice tight, and then do a double knot. Like so, and then you can just leave the tail ends as part of the tassel. And then we're going to, I think maybe a couple of inches, just trim off the edges, like so. And then you can fluff up the edges. Just grab a yarn needle and just fluff up the edges. Like so, so it goes all nice and frayed. Then repeat that for the other colours, and then we have a beautiful tasseled cushion. So I shall do that and I shall come back. And there we go, I've added tassels for all the colours, and there we go, that is our little spiral sweet picnic cushion. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, bye!